get started. We can get started. It's a couple of Hello, everyone. My name is Billy Stedman. I'm the managing partner for Triangle. I'd like to welcome you here tonight, and I appreciate that the invitation to address some of your questions and concerns. I apologize, I'm here by myself. My partner, Mike, which many of you have met, he's had a family death and is on his way to Florida right now. And Tim got exposed, our general manager here, got exposed to COVID today. And he at 6:30 had an appointment to get tested. I say exposed today, started showing symptoms today. So I'm here by myself, and I appreciate it. I recognize this is a very sensitive issue for everyone in this room, and probably not going to see eye to eye at the end of the night. But we're here to try to offer, I'm here trying to try to offer as many facts and answer as many questions as possible. Triumph welcomes this opportunity to have a respectful, professional discussion about the issues and try to figure out if there is a way that we can resolve some of the concerns and end up in a direction that's in the best interest of all parties involved. I received 24 questions in advance of this meeting, and most of the questions had sub-questions. I initially when I first got the list, there were 8 questions. And I said that I was going to answer the questions one at a time, and then we go into a Q&A. But now there's 24 questions and sub-questions. And I understand if we're talking to flood control today, they received a list of about 20 questions that they're in the process of answering. So what I thought I would do, if it's acceptable to you, is give you all an overview of the project and then open up for direct questions and answers. Is that acceptable to do that?
Is that going to be the same presentation?
There will be no slides on anything. This will be all verbal, all discussion. When you ask the questions, we will try to address your questions. Most of the questions that have been asked, not all of them, most of the questions that have been asked, or the answers are available on the 2 presentations that are posted on our website, the Q&A posted on our website, or the Q&A information that was given to the HOA's attorney. But I will be more than happy to answer any specific question that y'all have once we finish the overview. If that's an acceptable format with you, we can go. If not, I have a list of the questions and we can go through it. Go ahead. Okay.
How long do you figure the overview is there?
10 minutes, 12 minutes. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail because I'm assuming that if this group has taken the time to be here and has the compassion to be here, they've taken the time to read the material. And if they have any specific questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. I'll answer them tonight, I'll answer them in writing afterwards, or I'll answer by phone afterwards. That y'all decide how you want your answers. But if you have questions when we get done with the overview, ask them, and we'll try to address them.
Do you think you post your responses to questions?
Absolutely. This video will be posted tomorrow, and it will be sent out to anybody in this room that requests it. Any Longwood resident that requests any of our presentations, we send them the link to. But it will be on our website tomorrow, and you're welcome to copy it and put it on your computer or review it or whatever you want to do. But maybe I should have, and if I should have, I apologize. But I didn't want to go through putting together 35 slides of all this, of trying to address this, because this is something that is sensitive and are very, very compassionate about. So I wanted to try to address you on a one-on-one basis here to talk about the issues and talk about the possible remedies and solutions, or lack thereof. So that answer your question, or about how long?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, then I'll start, and I'll just tell you right now, this is a very brief overview. And when we get done with it, if anybody wants more information or drill down in it, just ask. You can ask tonight, again, like I said, you can ask by email, you can ask by phone, you can ask however you want to ask, and we will respond. There's two issues, and there's only two issues. Everything else is a sub-issue to these major two issues. The first issue is quite simply, does Longwood community want flood mitigation? That's the first issue. The second issue is Longwood community, do they want a golf course? Those are the two issues. Everything else that has been mentioned or talked about are related to one of those two issues. When we go to flood mitigation, I'm not going to try to go into the technical detail that Alan Black did. He's the Director of Operations for the Harris County Flood Control District. I think he's done an exceptional job in the two presentations, and he is available by email to answer specific questions. But I will summarize the opportunity. Harris County Flood Control, which I'm just going to call flood control, they hate that. Flood control has been charged with improving flood mitigation for all of Houston, Greater Houston. In August of 2015, a $2.5 billion bond fund was passed that now gave them the capital to pursue the charge. One of their areas of priority was a sub-program, which is Little Cypress Creek Frontier Program, which includes us. It's a 52 square mile project where they're trying to stop the upstream, prevent, control the upstream flooding that moves into Cypress Creek. And I'm not flood control, so if I make a misstatement on this, it's not intention. It is, I'm just telling you, I'm trying to summarize this. In the last major rainfall event here, we had 106 homes flood, streets flooded to the extent that Longwood was completely isolated. Anybody who's looked at the previous two presentations have seen the slides that show this entire area completely underwater. Atlas 14, which is a model that they use at flood control, projects that the next major rain event, not a 500-year flood event, but the next major rain event, and this is directly off of the last presentation by Alan Black, there will be 300 homes in Longwood flood and 3,100 adjacent homes immediately outside of Longwood.
I'm sorry, what do you define as a major rain event? Another 500-year flood, 100-year flood? Where does that fall into the
That is not my, I wish I could tell you, but they're telling me that it is.
But you're saying that 300 homes are gonna flood. I mean,
I will tell you my understanding, but I will tell you this, I will get that exact answer from you, from flood control, and I'll put it on our website. And any question that I can answer tonight, that I will put on our website. I'll put a Q&A on our website, and I will have answered as fast as I can get them answered. My understanding of this is a maximum anticipated rainfall within the next 2 years. That is my understanding of it. I could be wrong, but I will get that information from for you. Specific to Longwood, this community, the detention areas and the creek channel improvement, totaling 82 acres, will reduce flood levels 7 to 10.5 feet. No one can predict what the future of the rainfall is going to be. Flood control, not one person in this room. But this has, in the best case scenario, the possibility of protecting this community from flooding. The worst case is definitely going to improve the amount or the level of flooding that it gives. I don't think anyone, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think anyone could argue that the flood mitigation project benefits this greater community in property value and just real property. And the question about flood, You do what?
I'm gonna wait till then.
Yeah, you wait till the end, you can ask now.
I'm trying to, I'm sorry. Concerning that 7 to 10 feet, that the water projecting it will go down, the detention ponds, does the AFRIS program say of the 300 ponds that are projected to flood in the next 2 years, how many would flood if they didn't have the detention and it decreased the water?
The detention only?
If it decreased the
If it
water like
decreased
7
the
to
water.
10 feet, would that prevent all winter homes flood?
Well, right now, I will tell you that I do not want to speak for flood control, but there is a slide that on their last presentation, the second slide of flood control, that shows the capacity in feet of the creek out here and the capacity after the project, and the creek never crests. And, you're welcome to look, I have it right here if you'd like to look at it now.
Oh, okay.
No.
Page 2 all the way back.
Okay. And, but I hate speaking for flood control because, I called them North Harris County Flood Control for 2 years, and they corrected it. Yes, ma'am.
Sir, if I may, you have mentioned that there are two issues. Does Longwood want flood mitigation, and does Longwood want a golf course? We're here listening to Triumph and listening to the golf course. I don't think that those are relevant issues. Obviously, who doesn't want flood mitigation? And number two, we all purchased golf course view access lots. So those two questions are answered. And you don't want to speak on behalf of flood control. However, the whole discussion we're having so far is all about flood control.
Well-
What I do want to know is what your intention for Triumph is and what you want to amend in the deed restriction.
Memories, I was gonna get to that in the second part, but I respectfully, and I mean this sincerely, I'm not trying to be rude, but I respectfully disagree with you. The issue is, do we want flood mitigation? Because if a majority of this community says that they want flood mitigation, the flood mitigation project is going to happen. With or without the survival of the golf course.
Right.
It's going to happen.
Right.
If we want the golf course to survive, which is the next part of this, there are certain things that we have to do as a community. And we can go into that right now. If we want the golf course to survive.
Can we back up?
Yes.
Could you just address on flood control, how changing the deed restriction correlated to mitigating flood control?
It does.
Correlation at all?
There is no
That's one of
relation.
your primary issues.
No, it is the golf course's primary issue. It has nothing
Okay, I think so, to the point made, we can just discount flood control. I think we all are, people going on homes, whatever neighborhoods.
Okay,
Now,
now,
what we're after is understanding why changing the deed restriction is a requirement to achieve one of your primary issues, flood control. And I think you said there is no correlation. I think we can move on from that and emotions tied to
Okay.
flood.
the very reason to amend, not remove, amend. the deed-
Again, remove what,
Okay. To amend the deed
as
restriction.
you propose right now in your first draft, the language, it's essentially removed. Whether you want to phrase it, amend it, it's essentially removing everything that's there and replacing it with very weak arguments and weak restrictions on yourself. So I'd like to see a few more of those specifics about what your intent is, modification, amendment, or removal, whatever you want to phrase it as.
Okay, the amendment would be something that, do y'all before I answer your question, I will answer your question, do y'all understand why that we want the amendment? The golf course wants the amendment.
Make money.
Yes. No,
No,
it's to have a business that survives, because right now it's just saying they're gonna survive. That,
no, we did explain it, I have it.
okay. We have 251 acres, the entire property. The flood mitigation project, which a majority of the people are in favor for, is going to consume 82 acres of that 251.
Excuse me, the majority of people. You,
There's
define who that is?
been a survey out right now, and Out.
Wait a minute, be clear, the survey was not of Longwood residents. The survey was anybody,
No,
and
the
any
survey-
Longwood resident could go in from 16 different computers and put their input in. So we have no idea, maybe the survey is 16 people from this bar right here. We don't know. So don't,
Only 150 responses. Oh, 173.
173 out of what, out of 9,000 people?
No, the numbers that were sent out, that I can tell you 154 people responded out of 158 invitations that went out. And flood control, Alan Black said in his last presentation, before they move forward, they would comprehensively, they would host town halls and do comprehensive surveys. This isn't something that, once they say, yeah, we're gonna do it, flood control's just gonna do it. This is something that they want to do it politically correct, with the support of the community. And again, I'm speaking for flood control, but those are basically his exact words. He said there would be at least 2 town hall meetings and surveys going out to the community. So the past survey was based on the people that attended our first presentation. Those were the only email addresses that we had, which flood control got a copy of those and they sent out the survey. That the next survey that they will do will be comprehensive to the community, as I understand it.
I'm sorry, that's not.
You should just move on to the survey.
Let's go.
Move on.
Move on, all right. Go, 251 acres, 82 is going to be taken for the flood mitigation. Then leaves 169 acres for the golf course, more than ample space to build a golf course. The problem with it is the 82 acres that they are taking takes 7 holes completely and disrupts 5 holes on the creek channel, which requires us to come back in and rebuild the golf course. We are,
Why does the same thing? Why does it have to be both the holes along the creek and the outer areas? Is that the choice of the tribe or
that is in the flood control presentation from 10 days ago, the 20th, he says both projects, the detention and the creek channel, are mandatory. He put it in red on his slide. He said in order, they can't do just the detention and they can't do just the creek channel. They have to have both of them in order to get, I guess, to move forward with the project. And again, I don't want to speak for flood control, but that exact information that you asked is on the flood control presentation on January 20th.
Yeah.
You haven't seen the January, it's online. You go to Longwood Golf. I don't. You can pull that slide. I'll tell you which slide it is. I have hard copies of it. He's got it on his computer also.
I think one of the big questions we have is why does Triumph want to have in the deed restriction a golf course or high-end residential? I don't understand that.
Okay.
Why do you want either or?
Well, Triumph wants a golf course, period. You know, there's been a lot of people saying we're gonna sell it to Walmart or we're gonna put,
that's not mandatory.
do what?
What it says in red. It says.
There's another one. There's another one.
There's not a requirement to maximize anything. So, you know, what they need to do is mitigate flooding. That's the charge. They don't necessarily need to maximize how much they mitigate flooding. That's a very different statement that's misleading. We should get the flood control to clarify. Because that's on the edge of not being forthright.
I will have, would you be acceptable just to have a Zoom call with flood control?
We got to start this, but we haven't seen the presentation yet, so we need to know.
Okay, I will be more than happy to arrange a Zoom call with flood control, where anybody in this room can participate.
Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, I think that would be much more attractive.
Well,
This
before
week,
we come back,
I do appreciate you being here, I appreciate being invited, but, well, talked to my family about it, with a few neighbors all along, it's really flood control that we need to talk to.
let's go back and let's address the point of why is it Triumph wants to include in the modification, whatever you call it, the deed restriction, that we will be allowed to sell it as high-end residential homes. Which means to me, that we're giving you the ability to sell the golf course completely. You're not promising me, yes, you are a golf course company, but you are a real estate holding company. And you have a monetary responsibility, fiduciary responsibility to your shareholders to make money for them. And if you see that you can make $5 million by selling certain areas to above the floodplain and to be easily built into residential homes, and then just letting the rest of it go, you're not giving me a golf course. You're taking from me $95,000 in my property value, and every other person in this room, not to mention the property value of the rest of the people in this room, our realtor over here can back up these facts for me. You're taking that away from me. You're wanting me to pay more of my tax dollars to support you. That's not the capitalistic way of the United States.
Well,
If you can't do it, sell, why can't you sell it to somebody else?
no one will.
It's.
Well, then why do we have to give you the ability?
2014 and 2014 was a better year. Could you just go back and address the question, why you feel, or are you willing to change your request to include high homes in the deed?
The reason that we are including, I will answer this all the way through. The reason that we are requesting that the amendment be changed to include high-end real estate. We're also going to include minimum square footage and minimum price, all that. Okay.
You don't want homes out there.
There's not going to be homes in your backyard.
Where would you put these homes
There's
instead?
not going to be homes. We have offered to if you can match.
Please.
We have offered to escrow all the money that we get from flood control.
I didn't see that in the language.
Nothing to do with it. You didn't see what anyone, we just been in there, saying, we've made the presentation to the.
Now, that is presentation, I'm asking about the legal language that you actually presented to us.
It has not been done. We have asked, as part of the structure, I'll answer that. We've offered to escrow all the funds. We've offered to extend the term on, that expires now in 2042. We have offered to give an assignable right of first refusal to the HOA. Should we go to sell it?
That's valueless.
It's
If
not valueless.
you came up and said, we're going to sell this for $3 million, I'm going to have an assessment of 1,400 homes for $3 million, and the company, and people say, we're not going to pay $15,000 a piece. Then suddenly you sell it to somebody else. If you take out that residential part, we will get more support. If you leave it in, we will fight you to the end.
And wait, can I say something to you, because you keep diverting from the question. Why do you want high value homes in the amendment?
Because
it has nothing to do with escrow, it has nothing to do with anything you
I
talk
don't keep diverting from the question. Every time I go to answer something else comes up.
Okay,
So-
so 3 minutes, go.
All right. The reason that we need high-value real estate, golf course or high-end real estate, is to support the appraisal. Right now, the remaining 169 acres, once they're appraised, are discounted by 75% because they can only be used as green space. Golf course is considered green space. And it doesn't support the damages to restore the 18 homes. They have to have more value on the remaining asset than the cost of the cure. Right now, as a golf course, discounted by 75%, it doesn't support it. Adding the high-end real estate changes the highest and best use for an appraiser that comes in and says, yes, it's worth $8 million, supports the $6 million that it takes to restore it. That is exactly why we were asking that question.
So you're trying to screw the taxpayers.
I'm not trying to screw the taxpayers.
So you're trying,
So you have zero intent of putting the high value homes there. It's only a legal mechanism for you to introduce the valuation of the property, so that you can get the money that you're trying to get from.
We have no intentions of developing this property at all.
If you don't have the intention, so it's just a manipulative way to change the valuation of the property.
To screw the taxpayers, yes.
Right now, 2042, as it exists right now, in 22 years, in 21 years, we could put Walmarts on this. That's not our intention.
We're worried about it.
So how do you defend yourself against the taxpayers who voted for a bond for flood mitigation by manipulating your deed restrictions only to inflate the value so that you can use it for a different purpose?
Am I really in it? They're gonna shut down my business? It's all right for me to have almost $10 million and you're just gonna shut it down?
You're going to mislead the appraisal folks.
It's not misleading. I could, except that I'm coming, once the deed is changed, it is completely legal at that point for me to pursue this as real estate. Hence, it would be valued as high as used. What we're committing to the community and to the HOA is we're not gonna do that.
But how are you committing that verbally? Like, who wants to a contract verbally? Who does that in this day and age?
I never said verbally. I have said that, well, escrow the funds, $6 million that come in, that's controlled by the HOA to go back into the golf course. I said that we will extend the term on the deed. I said that we will give you an assignable right of refusal. And I disagree that it is not something that has any teeth in it. It has a ton of teeth in it.
And you're gonna put this thing in life.
Absolutely. Matter of fact,
Never said that.
no, that's not true. I've said that to the board so many times, it's so many.
We're not the board.
There is no board right now, there's one person on the board, and so there really is not a board right now.
I have sent it to the board, and within the last week, it was been given to a statement of the board's attorney in those exact languages. I am asking the board to agree that they want to amend the deed, subject to agreement on the language on the escrow, agreement on the language of the right of first refusal, agreement there's a maintenance agreement that we've also put in the exact same letter. We're willing, the golf course is willing to pursue a maintenance agreement on that land over there, because there will be a time. And then the language on the right of first refusal, I'm not gonna try to tell y'all that it doesn't have any teeth, because it does. There is gonna be a period of time that the time that the board amends the deed, it's gonna be a 90 to 120 days before we're contracted with flood control. That right of first refusal in there protects the golf course, and we're putting it in at a number that anybody would buy, especially with $6 million from improvement coming in. That protects us and y'all. Us from selling it and y'all from having it sold.
Who owns, go ahead, I'm sorry.
The $6 million that you want to escrow to reconfigure the golf course, what if that's not enough? From what I understand right now, that's an estimate.
It is an estimate.
What happens if it's $8 million and not $6 million? Where does the money come from?
It comes from,
My point is, does any of it come out of Triumph's pocket? I mean,
Triumph has been pouring money into this, and what they're doing to the golf course is only part of it. It's only part of the golf course. We are going to have to come back in there and reinvest in the clubhouse and the remainder of the golf course.
that's my point.
Yes, we have put $3 million in here in flood damages. And it absolutely is painful, because as we keep putting money in, as the property keeps deteriorating, all we're doing is throwing Band-Aids on it.
Okay, so you have a high-end home amendment in the deed restriction, okay? From a business standpoint, why wouldn't I say, okay, it's gonna cost me a lot more than $6 million to renovate this place. Why wouldn't I just say, from a business standpoint, I'll just sell it and get out and walk away?
Because from a business standpoint, that I'm offering y'all the right of first refusal, you can give it to your neighbor at a price that at a price that any golf course company would buy with $6 million to fix it.
So why wouldn't you sell to another golf course company?
I happen to believe in this project. I wouldn't have bought it if I didn't believe in this project.
Well, I do have to say, it's a little more to believe that you believe in it when you say it's painful to throw money into it because everything's security. That makes me think that you're not gonna throw money into it, it's so painful for you. So what's the motivation to keep the golf course for you?
Ma'am, I've stuck it out since 2015 here, and I've increased my debt by, well, no, the honest truth, I've increased it by about $2.2 million.
I'm sorry,
Ask-
what is the?
Ask one of the people, 106 people that have been flooded, if they keep fixing their house and they're fixing their house, they're gonna fix it the next time it floods, but it becomes painful after a while.
No, I understand, I'm just wondering what your motivation is behind it, because it's not your house, but you could get it.
We bought the golf course, we bought the golf course and it was owned by American Golf. And they were running about 73,000 rounds a year through here and just beating it to absolute death. Our goal was to come over here and increase the quality and reduce the rounds and raise the prices. Quite frankly, that was our plan. And the first year, it was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful until we got the first flood in 2015. And we have been struggling since then because we lose our greens, we've lost our bunkers, we've lost the clubhouse. And we keep on putting money right back into it. Could it be better? Infinitely. It's not very good. It's the worst property we have right now. But this has got potential to be one of the best premium golf courses in Houston. It was like that when it opened. It was one of the premium, and it was only 18 holes then, by the way, when it opened. The land that they're building detention on wasn't there. It wasn't golf course. That's fact.
Can I ask you one question? Hopefully it's a very simple question. Who owns the golf course?
Okay. Triumphs.
No. What entity owns the golf course?
Longwood Interest, LLC.
Great. So what is to prevent, if we lift the deed restriction and you put this money in the escrow account, and then the next day, Longwood Interest, it's not Longwood Interest LLC, it's actually a limited partner. I think Longwood Interest or Longwood Investments is the general partner. So what would prevent that company from going bankrupt and rejecting all the contracts around the escrow and walking away?
I don't know. I
It can be done.
don't see the escrow, specific escrow instructions. I don't see how you get out of escrow without applying those instructions.
I think the only thing that would remain in effect, from my knowledge, I may be wrong, we do this a lot of times in a lot of different ways. The only thing that would remain in effect is the deed restriction because it runs with the land. The escrow accounts, anything else in bankruptcy could be rejected. And got rid of it with a chapter 11 reorganization or maybe a chapter 7.
I couldn't speak to
No,
that.
I don't want you to, but I just want people to be aware that we are not dealing with Triumph. We are dealing with Longwood Investments or, I forget the other name, Longwood something limited. And those companies could go bankrupt, reject all those other contracts. And if we lift the deed restriction, you got nothing. But the deed restriction, as I understand it, runs with the land and would still be in effect. So if Longwood Investments, or wherever you say it is, goes bankrupt, then whoever comes in and assumes that or takes it over would still be subject to that deed restriction. I'm not an attorney. I'm not an attorney, but
I have not got into any bankruptcy or looked at that. Quite frankly, you may have a point. I don't think you can bust escrow, but you may. It's never been our intent. That's why we've offered other protections we have tried to offer up on this. Our intent is to improve the remaining 18 holes, improve the clubhouse, and have a chance to service our financial obligations.
And what happens to the values of our properties
in regards to, should this take place, the evaluation of our property?
Ma'am, that is something that if, you're gonna have to ask that to flood control.
Well, that's the question, right? Because with the deed restrictions in place, there's an opportunity for us to get relief from the flood control when they condemn that person that's possession.
If you eliminate the name.
So ultimately, if they bought the land and the deed restrictions in place, then we can go to flood control and say, we've got damages, and we'd like you to entertain a remedy for the damages, and there's a process for doing it. We might not like the answer, but there's a process.
Is there?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Didn't that deed restriction that?
It's a deed restriction that enables us to have claims.
no, if, I think what he's saying is, if you don't mind,
No, please.
if the flood control decides they need to take the land through eminent domain, they would do that. And they would pay Triumph or Longwood interest or wherever the hell it is, the amount that is due. Now, the condemnation in my mind can take place in 90 days. And they can start building their pits and do whatever they want. But the valuation, they go to court for years, you know, they may fight for years on the valuation.
They're estimating it take 5 years to fight.
Yeah.
Only on the value, not on the taking.
Not only what?
Two different pieces.
Yes.
The first is the taking of the land. You
Well,
can
there's
take the land, if I want to build a pipeline through there, I can take that land, I'll tell you, my attorneys will tell me I can take that land in 90 days.
That's correct, but there's
The
three
value will fight on and on. And as homeowners adjacent to that, as I understand, we would have a claim for inverse condemnation, where we could say, you detracted from the value of our land, we want something to, not they take a while, but at least we have a claim. Because the deed restriction is lifted,
It's not lit up. It's not,
it's modified.
and you take my side, those golf courses are high in real estate. If they do the exact same thing, what changed on your land? What changed?
So because according to the deed restriction, we can have a home on the backside of our home.
But you're not, they're coming in and condemning it. I don't understand what your demand, how it would change.
But you're telling me, maybe I don't understand this. My understanding is you wanted to amend the deed restriction so the holes on the east of Longwood Trace are no longer a part of the deed restriction.
No, sir.
No, he wants a valuation, the point would be.
The remaining property is going to use the evaluation of non-property. The remaining property value is what's reinvested in the value of the total property after. That's where it came out.
Right, but the difference for us is that the valuation of our property is also evaluated against the deed restriction, not the current state. So the deed restriction says there can be a house with back fence to our back fence, and your value of your property is that.
Well, I'm telling you,
My concern is a dirt pit and dump trucks and motorcycles.
Well, I hold on, wait,
Okay, what you just described, if, and I thought I was doing the same thing, but, if they modify the deed, and they allow Triumph to sell that property, there's no houses left. They amend the deed restriction for the entire
251.
251 period.
but
They also have offered to extend that 2042.
but that is not relevant to our property value property.
Yes, you're correct.
Okay, which is the topic of our discussion.
Absolutely. But they aren't going to build anything right.
That's true. That drops it from, that keeps it from dropping further.
If none of this happens, if this goes through, then for God's sakes, turn your attention to fixing that area up. Getting a buffer, getting a walking track,
I'm sorry, can I use a value? Then I'm not gonna argue with it. You said if this goes through, what do you mean if this?
If the select board buys the land as a wet bottom amendment, is
Well, I think, and John, I know if you think I'm wrong, I think they're gonna do it anyway.
Who's gonna do it anyway?
And then somewhere.
Well, yeah, and then like any,
But you're saying, okay with that, see, let it happen.
But, we're good. We've got to be able to fix it.
you know, the 37 homeowners collectively have about $4 or $5 million that we can lose. And for you, or for the golf course, you're looking to see, can I get $6 million up? And that's the real issue, right?
Not getting $6 million. If your house burnt down and you got insurance to give you the money to fix it, did you pocket that money? You put your house back the way it was.
With all due respect, my house is not marketable today. It is for half the price, because this is going on, any realtor will tell you. And you gotta disclose this, and your house isn't marketable. We had a neighbor down the street that had their house on the market for 6 months. Why am I taking it off? I have a neighbor next door whose house has been on the market for 6 months. They haven't sold it because it's because nobody knows what's gonna happen. They don't know if it's gonna be mud pits and motorcycles, or is it gonna be a golf course, or is it gonna be high-end new housing with a big fence up?
And there's a liability in disclosing that, so realtors have to disclose it, or homeowners have to disclose the exceptions, or we would be liable. So we really are at a disadvantage.
I'm already damaged.
Sir?
I'm already damaged.
So obviously, we're not raising either. But, so I have a question. If we came to you and said, hey, okay, I live on a preschool, and there's a nice one out of three. I want to buy a 103. Can I buy a 103 from you?
No, but I'd be more than happy to let you buy part of it. We move forward with this, I'd be more than happy to let you buy part of it.
Just 403.
You tell me part of it. If you want to buy all 7 homes, absolutely, but you buy one home, I lose a third of my business. One home costs a third.
If you're gonna, if they're gonna put some mud in anyway, if I can keep my hills in my backyard, if I can keep my trees right back there, and you put the mud in on this, flood control, or the mud in on the other side of that, will you sell me all that whole number 3?
No.
Okay, then we're on.
Well, what do you mean, you said we could buy like 7 homes for?
So, whole.
Sure, yeah.
For the appraised value.
Prior to
No,
the.
you don't.
There's a point right now, the appraised value with the deed restriction doesn't get there.
Is what?
Is what?
That's the contract you entered in.
What is it prior to the deed?
With the deed restriction, the 82 acres worth for about 1,200,000 and change.
Okay. And, yeah,
Do you have a buyer at that price?
what if we want to buy it?
Flood control would buy if I ever started serious negotiations, we're in conversation, I have stalled and hired experts to get all this stuff done. For the very simple reason that once we start down this road, there's no changing.
At your intended reappraised value, which you figured and lifted, do you know a buyer at that cost?
Flood control.
They agree to purchase it at that cost?
They've never said they would agree. They said it's a priority project, they want to move forward, they all that, they have never said.
You told us they were either buy it.
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time here.
Yeah, my question is, with the funding that you need for the project, you've got an appraised value to get out of the property to fund that project. Do you have an agreement or any written handshake, anything, if not, let's go with it, you're willing to pay that.
We have discussed the exact numbers.
And you discussed it, that was the question, please.
I can't, Until they give me a letter of offer, there's nothing legal on this thing, it's nothing more than discussion.
So it's wishful thinking on your end, that your inside numbers, that you calculated it where you actually keep that money from flood control and not let them put in money of your own, whole project.
$10 million in this. And I ain't willing to put on it, that, the money that they put up only addresses the change, there's all the other things that have to happen.
Okay, you didn't answer the question. Okay, drag it.
Ask me a question.
Okay. Do you have an agreement with any buyer at the appraised value that you're looking to achieve to fund the
No,
project?
I do not.
Do not.
Do not.
But you want us to initiate the process, give up the current restrictions that we have in our deed to allow you to explore the potential to actually put the golf course and make the whole golf course that you described on your presentation.
It's a little bit more than explored, they have spent millions of dollars in our petition, TC.
Certainly,
We do not have that first step for you, correct? It's a critical step for the golf course.
And what risk are you taking at that point? With that critical first step that you
If they choose not to buy it, or if their valuation comes in below a certain threshold, that doesn't allow us to restore the 18.
again, what risk are you taking?
Maybe I'm dense, I don't understand the question.
No, can we rephrase that? You basically stated what you would like to do. You should consider it reasonable to, we have to have it in a written contract with several items. And basically, one of the main items of the contract that everybody will be okay with. If for some reason you cannot make the deal with it, you cannot get your money, you cannot get to a person, then our agreement, being part of the contract, to amend the deeds, cancels. And then there's no
I didn't tell
longer.
you, and you won't like my answer at all. But I'm gonna tell you exactly what I told the previous board. I told them that if we can't get the deal done, I would be more than happy to put it back where it was. But I can't have some super secret agreement that's sitting in a safe, because that's defrauding the flood control.
No, I think what I may be asking is, I think in real estate contracts, they're called contingencies.
I've actually, that has come up, and I am more than happy to do it. We have no intentions, we don't go through with flood control, to develop this property, none. And I don't know if there is a mechanism that can protect you to reverse what we have done that doesn't defraud them, because then you are doing a smoke and mirrors. You're saying we're only doing this because.
No, what I'm saying is, we will do it, yes. Not because.
If it can be done, I have no problem. We cannot strike the deal with flood control of reversing this. I have said that since April of last year to the board. Y'all find out, y'all figure out the mechanism to do it.
Everything I've been told, so we'll see.
You want to sign a contract at a time, and then allowing you so much time to keep financing through.
As long as it put us or you in a fraudulent situation, I'll be happy to do it. I'm not going to commit fraud.
I guess my other question that I talked about bankruptcy before, would Triumph be willing to step into that contract as a parental guarantee or whatever?
The guarantee of
Not
to replace the interest rate.
bankrupt and walking away from the whole thing.
I'm telling you, and you have no reason to believe me, and I know we're not gonna agree on that. There's no way that this group is gonna ever agree with what we're wanting to do. But I'm telling you that if we do the flood mitigation project, I understand the fish. What I'm hoping is that the neighborhood, the HOA, and Triumph together can dictate the terms that we can do with the detention park over there, make it an attraction and not a mud hole. I keep hearing mud hole. And, all right.
Who's gonna pay for it? That's my question.
There's a lot
The
of.
mud district can't. Harris County Flood Control won't. So who's gonna pay
Friends, there's, Texas Naturalist Society, there's all kinds of people, organizations that will help fund that.
I will agree with you 100%. Right. I'm not disagreeing with you. All I've said all along is, I want the plan in place before the deal is done.
They don't spend the money to put the plan together before the deal is done, because they have, you have to keep in mind this time frame. Their part's short. Flood district, it will take 5 years to develop that final plan. There won't be anything done out there for 5 years.
And my house is unmarketable for the next 5 years.
And then some.
Okay, but that's the way it's gonna work.
Where
No.
the one ball was?
Are you for the 37?
I'm hopeful, so. Yeah, I'm on, post. Right next to
I'm not disagreeing with you.
I have a beautiful view, but I also think there's a way we can turn that into a plus.
I agree with you, in 10 years. I may want to get out in 2.
Okay, so it's gonna sit there. Knowing, answer me this. If you started construction on redoing this golf course, would you have to lease that property up there during that 5 years so you could keep 18 pools?
Yeah, they're gonna lease it back to me for $1 one word construction, or so we have it,
That's not what I'm asking.
Right.
What I'm asking is, once flood control takes it over, how long before we have a beautiful pond, beautiful nature trail, conservatory, and park bar on the island in the middle?
That's 5 years before we start. But during that 5 years, it's golf.
No, that's not very far.
Yeah.
During that time, we will maintain it. We've offered up a maintenance.
As you take it off, one hole out, you're not gonna supplement it.
It doesn't work like that. Yeah, we'll do our construction over here, and during the 9 months for construction over here, we'll run that 9 over there, so we have 18 homes. When this reopens over here, that ceases to be part of, that's not our property anymore.
So you won't lose a revenue stream? You won't lose a revenue stream doing that.
Whatever we do, we won't get shut off.
No, you understand. I know it's an emotional thing.
You're a relevant example, but before time,
That, it'll take a year, but the actual does
Just want to talk, there's
some plans and mobilization and everything is the rest of it.
So everybody's aware, Ravenel has been purchased by Flood Control, and they're starting that project. All the timelines are online for Ravenel. You go look at Ravenel, this the Longwoods on the next golf course, that's the previous year. But all the timelines are on that golf course, and they've got everything laid out when we're going to start. But they're not even going to start excavation until they expect for almost 3 years. They're in the final year of planning. Ravenel is going to operate the golf course for an additional year. So January of this year is when the contract is finalized. Ravenel has the golf course for an additional year. The engineering and stuff is being finalized on the environmental impact. For an additional year to golf.
They just sold everything to.
Correct. So the clubhouse itself and the country club itself, the golf course is going to continue to operate.
Actually, they traded it for the golf course.
Well, what you're saying is that's not gonna happen.
That's not country club, but it's going to be somewhere between 3 to 5 years before they can finish the improvement.
Yeah, and what I heard here from flood control was maybe 10 years before we get through all that.
It's
Well,
3
Alan Live
years
Centers,
of the engineering,
45, 10,
3 years of the engineering.
well, Alan Live Centers presentation, 1 to 2 years for the engineering, 1 to 2 years for the construction. He said that one time, and a different time, he did say 5 years. he said both those things.
Somebody said on the presentation, I was on 10 years. I don't believe that was.
I haven't heard that number, I saw that he didn't
So
say
the
that.
Current Lake Golf Course, they did the same thing, it's come in 2012, just finishing the final construction. So it's basically 8.5 miles an hour. So there's several examples, if you go look on Merritt County, the exact same problem. But it is 5 to 7 years, it's probably realistic. But that doesn't start,
I think 5 years is probably a real number.
but they don't do any flood correction. We're not gonna see any flood correction for 5 years.
That's right.
So, what comes
up the
What do I do?
The reality is, the harsh reality for all of us, the fact that when we bought our homes in this neighborhood and built, even I bought our first home here around a certain time, you were also on our golf course. Our house is pretty flood. Now, Harris County sold and continued to develop, and a lot of development properties continuing all up Little Cypress Creek. When we first moved into this neighborhood, Little Cypress Creek was exactly that description, it was Little Cypress Creek.
It's what a bridge there, either.
It's 2.5 times the size it was when I first moved in. And it doesn't even close to hold the water. So, the issues created for Harris County, a lot of development and never adequately putting in a water relief. So
Jim,
now,
all due respect, I lived here during Allison, and the house that I lived in at the time, on Skyway, didn't flood.
right,
Harvey, it got a couple inches of water in it, which is a flood, and I feel bad.
But that's a 500+ year flood. I don't know how you plan for something like that.
well, last heavy rains that we had, if you want to call them that, the creek was only about 3 feet below the creek. You could never do it that way unless we had 15, 18 inch rain, and we just had our, regular winter spring rains. So the rain that's going on, from Coles Crossing to Blackwood, and all that, that's what's created a problem.
But Harvey, I've never seen them talk about cutting the dam there at Addicts to let the water out because it was gonna be much worse. I mean, it's a once in a lifetime event.
Well, if you look back to the old city plans, there was supposed to be 3 levees built in Houston to protect the city of Houston. The 3rd levee was supposed to be in the Cypress watershed, and they never built. So, unfortunately, I think a lot of development on the property, we're now trying to correct the problem now.
But one of my concerns about this whole situation is that I truly don't believe this is going to mitigate anything. The problem isn't just here. The problem is Cypress Creek. And Mark C. has already made statements that that is not going to stop flooding. And that they have already, as far as science, and other people who are advocates for, the Cypress Creek and what's going on, they're saying this is always going to be a problem, no matter what they do. The flooding that we saw here from Harvey will fill that detention or retention pond up, and we will never even know it was there. Just like it did on the retention ponds that are downstream from us. Just like retention ponds that are over at Coles Crossing. There's several right here, builds it up, and it will keep going. We had another flood like that, there's nothing that would ever.
Widening the creek channel by to 600 feet.
Well, but that just gives
And
it.
you can never where you go with it, that's the whole point.
No, right.
Say,
I
5 to 7 years, and 11, so we want to work.
I can't speak to their hydraulic model, but I can tell you there's 6 upstream projects, and we're at the confluence of Little Cypress Creek and Cypress Creek, essentially at the confluence. And that this is a pivotal project for them. That, I don't have any, we almost went 10 months without having any conversation at one point when they completed their hydraulic model. And that's the one that's come back with this information. That's not my expertise. All I can do is, they're the experts and they're saying that this is what's gonna happen. I don't have the experience or the education to dispute it or agree with it. I think that's what they get paid for. I see your logic though.
One thing, that is a two-part deal, as I understand it, I'm just like this, I'm a mess. But you have to straighten the creek and widen it to move the water through the community faster. There are codes in the state of Texas that says you cannot transfer those flood waters to the community below you. They're called the Texas water laws. That's why we have detention ponds. It has to hold that water and meter it out. That is my understanding. By themselves, they don't do a whole lot of good. It's the straightening of the channel that,
Well, I guess that's another good point, because, you know, Harris County Flood Control District says that they have to have the retention ponds and that kind of thing in conjunction with widening the creek. They can't just do one or the other. They're doing that faulty going. There's not a retention pond out there. They're pushing it somewhere, and I don't know where.
And there's other projects that are just detention. That, and I know where I heard that he said he has to do both of them. If y'all listen to the first 10 minutes of the January the 20th presentation, it was said, it's not just what is up here in red, it was said that they have to do both the projects together. That, and again, I'll be more than happy to arrange a Zoom call with Alan Black, and y'all can ask him all these questions. I do not have the technical expertise to answer them.
Sam, the water law states that if you modify this waterway, that's when it kicks in. Right now, it can flow through there because it's a natural waterway. But if you modify it, widen it, straighten it, you can't send it on that.
Yeah, and on top of that, the reason they're going to 600 feet is because they have to get a permit from the Corps of Engineers. And in order to get a permit to touch the bottom of the creek, which is exactly how we met on the first time, they have to be able to, and I don't remember the exact number, the exact ratio, but for every foot they touch down here, they have to replace it with 3 feet outside. So that's why they're doing these 41 slopes at 600 feet in order to mitigate their disturbance at the bottom of the channel. Again, that is my interpretation. Alan Black can probably shoot me for saying it like that, but that's the way I understand it.
I think if you have to watch the video from the January meeting, really should, because the first hour with Alan Black is very informative as to what they plan to do, and he really does a good job answering why they have to do what they're doing. So if you haven't seen it, it's worth your time.
Do you have an idea on trees that will be taken out?
Yeah, and I apologize because I know the board has changed. But the board appointed a spokesperson for the board, the prior board, and we worked with them. That spokesperson was going to, we talked about buffer zones, easements behind all the houses, landscaping berms, and flood control committee to have their people redraw it. And he wanted to have their architects draw it, the HOA's architects draw it. All this is agreeable to flood control. I'm not asking, here's something that is, I hope y'all understand this. I am not asking to do this in a vacuum. I think that as homeowners, as the golf course, as the HOA, that we're stronger dictating what the ultimate outcome is going to be than any one group by themselves. My opinion.
Yeah, I think to be able to do that, you gotta bring another party to the table. Because once you get what you're looking for in the modified use restriction, if you go on your way to the modifications to golf course, what's left, the property which you sold, it's not up to you, it's not up to flood control, it's up to some other conservation or something else.
And you can do exactly what we provided to the HOA's attorney. And I'm sorry because I view this stuff that's between our attorney and their attorney as confidential, so we don't post it out to the public. But I will tell you this, what our appraisal is on that land with amendment of the deed restriction allows us, assuming we get that appraisal, and it's subject to their appraisal, allows us to sponsor a pretty significant part of the detention park.
And then one in that whole town, the flood control district says it's too expensive, never mind.
I don't think that's gonna happen after what they just paid for revenue. And they have already invested a ton of money here. They have already done all of the studies, all of the surveys, everything in the curriculum. They've been doing it for the last year and a half. And I'm not talking about a guy walking down there with a notebook. I'm talking about crew after crew after crew.
What's
So
the,
you got the offer.
Go ahead.
what did they pay for Avenue Trail?
They paid about $12 million for the 20 acres of the club, on just the clubhouse.
Do they have to live with deed restrictions to get it?
No, what they had to do is, it's, Rapido had its own set of problems. The people who originally bought Rapido went over and contracted with the mud for $4 million worth of utilities. I was actually, aware of that with Don Hanover, their Champions Forest. And then after the fact, after they contract, they were gonna shut the golf course down and develop it. These were lawyers too, by the way. Then they found out after the fact that it was in floodway, and only about 20.6 acres were outside of the floodplain. So they tried to back out of their contract. The mud took the golf course and leased it back to them. But they kept the acreage and part of the driving range. It was a little bit bigger than that. And then when flood control bought it, they bought the clubhouse area and wanted the golf course, and they had to deal with the mud. And the mud basically held them hostage to a point that there was a flood. But it was very, very expensive, like in $300,000 acre.
Did that include the south side that they closed previously?
I don't know that.
John, whatever wants to make a commission.
But I'll tell you that they have had a lot of scrutiny on that deal.
Are they going to sell the clubhouse back to?
With the mask,
They should. Well, no, I just have talked to several members over there, they're saying the revenue said they might get the clubhouse and the tennis courts back, in order to have the golf course. Is that true?
there's trading.
They're trading. Okay.
That my understanding is that they're trading the developable area of the clubhouse for the golf course.
Okay.
That is my understanding. I haven't seen any documents or anything, but that's what I've been told.
Tennis courts as well, okay, or not.
So Billy, I don't want to beat this to death, but just so that I'm clear, the appraised value requires, in order to get the appraised value that you already had a discussion with your flood control district about, requires the deed restriction to be lifted so that the appraisal from not only that 82 acres, but this other 169 acres has to be appraised together in order to meet their government requirements for how they appraise a piece of property and can issue funds.
Yes. And that, I think that is very, very, about 5 slides breaking that down with the appraisal numbers that we got from Gary Brown and Associates on that on the January 20th presentation.
Okay, so
But you're correct.
what you're giving to us, you're willing to make some kind of a contractual agreement in some way to do some of the things you talked about, or possibly we have a contingency if they are not going in the direction like a round did or whatever, that would revert back and that those would be restrictions come back on.
If there's a way to legally do it, we will do it. We will commit to do it. But again, I want to make sure if we can, if y'all's lawyers, our lawyers, and I don't have a problem. I've got a bunch of lawyers. I don't have a problem having them work on it. Y'all have your lawyers work on it. As long as we're not entering into a fraudulent agreement, I'd be more than happy to do that. And I know you have no reason to believe this, so I shouldn't even say that. I'm going to do it. But
Well, you're right, I mean, it has to be.
I understand it has to be a contract, that's why I say I shouldn't even say it,
Okay,
but it has to be above board.
now let me ask you another thing. The Triumph company, like what was pointed out earlier, is owned by Longwood LLC.
No, I think it's the other way around. Triumph is the company that owns all the LLCs.
Okay, are they Triumph, are they a private equity group, a private investment group, or what?
Just a private golf course owner and operator,
And all they do is buy a golf course entities,
100%.
100%. So they're investors.
Yeah.
Now, let me just go through this with you just a second. If I was in Triumph's position, and I saw what was going on here, and I saw a continual loss, and the problems associated with this golf course, I would have no hesitation agreeing with the board meeting to spin it off, to sell it off, to go after something else that may have more potential for a better return.
Okay, let me answer that.
Okay.
All right. I want to answer it twice. Our property taxes are about $175,000 a year. I can hold this thing in for 21 more years and then 251 acres here, which about 56% of it is developable. That it's worth quite a bit. And in today's market, it's quite a bit. The second part of that, this is the part that we do. If I get the amendment to the deed restriction and come in here and fix up the 18 holes, improve the clubhouse, we're not going to be a $45 golf course anymore. We're going to be a $100 golf course.
I think you should be private.
Well, actually, I kind of wanted to say that because we want to take a semi-private model.
That's the private tribe.
Yeah, we want to take a semi-private model and a true semi-private where we have a membership component and we have X amount of times, and as the membership grows, the times available to the public are reduced until we get a certain membership trigger and we're private. We're exploring putting a fitness center in where the smokehouse sits. We're exploring how we can put in locker rooms. We're not going to put in a swimming pool. But we're actively looking at that. We have one of our clubs, Woodmont Golf and Country Club, 14th best club in the state of Georgia. That is the exact model we use there, and it is extremely good for both the members and the investors.
Well, you know, I understand. I mean.
Okay, let me finish that real quick, because this is important. If we can fix that, golf courses trade on about 8.6 to 9.2 times multiple of EBITDA. That's about how golf courses value. So if we can fix that and we can generate $1 million a year in EBITDA, Cypress does it. This is a better track. This is infinitely better golf course. We can generate $1 million in EBITDA. That's $1 million in cash flow a year, and it's got a market value of 9.2 million. That's a pretty good deal. That's a hell of a lot better for us walking away and doing a $3 or $4 million write-off right now. That is the reason that we're here, because we believe in the future of this place.
Well, let me just walk that scenario through.
Okay.
Because if I was in your board and I saw what was going on here, like I said, and I had the option of selling, do you think I would sell it to Haircut Controls? If I had the deed restrictions lifted off here, I would go after it alone. I wouldn't sell it to anybody in the Haircut Control District. I would want the most I could get with what opportunity.
Hence the assignable right of first refusal for the current value, which means that if I went out to try to sell it to someone for $7 or $8 million, y'all could exercise it and sell it to them and pocket $3 or $4 million. That is the very basic of the reason that we offer the assignable right of first refusal to protect you from doing that.
The HOA, please.
They can assign it.
Yeah, what I'll tell you is, the right of first refusal to me means nothing, because the HOA doesn't have those kind of funds to start.
They don't have to.
They don't have the right to do it. But I do have one question, and it's just a concern I've had, because I've heard it two different ways. I'm hearing, losing their ass on this golf course, and I've seen many posts on Facebook recently that said, for the last 3 years, trying to be black, you're making plenty of money.
Nope. I can tell you in 2020, we made money, we made positive cash, we couldn't cover interest on our debt. That is a fact. We had positive cash flow. We have seen upward trend for the last 3 years, but this is the first year since 2015 we've been black.
You have people out there posting on Facebook.
There's all kinds of stuff on Facebook. I don't post on Facebook that
I didn't even until 6 months ago.
you can call me, I get an email,
One of the best sources for information.
Can we go back to property values to some extent? What type of state do we have if you live or have the 5 members represent the community to lift the deed restriction in your benefit? What recourse do we have being on the golf course and losing that ability?
I think that if they do that and flood control takes it, that it's something you're gonna have to take up with flood control. That would be-
If they take, but if
They
you,
don't take it. We'll have a mechanism, dust it in a dusty safe, that puts the deed restriction back on.
No, let me be clear, because I think we're talking about two different things. When you say take, to me, that's in the, they take it, and then we go through the courts. If you lift the deed restriction and you sell it with flood control, what recourse do we have?
I don't,
None whatsoever, as far as
I don't,
In that case, they're coming from me, we have none that.
Correct.
So our district cabinet is litigated with ranks that we at least have a right to recover something.
Fighting
If
a
we
change.
didn't get that right, then all I've done is lost $95,000 in the value of my house. And the ability to sell it within some years. What do you do?
right, and, you know, as far as that goes too, like, it's like looking at what kind of easement there is or whatever, like, truly, we are some of the most expensive properties in Longwood with the most vast backyards. The 3, like, our street is, that is our backyard. The only reason we bought the house.
I don't have the expertise to talk about your loss of premium value on your lot or anything like that. That is, I don't have that expertise. And if I say something, all it's gonna do is create an argument whether I say, yes, you're right.
I don't argue, I just want to state our position.
I understand your position, I truly do. That's why I said I know it's a sensitive issue, and I understand your position. But if they survey every resident in Longwood, and a majority of the residents are in favor of flood mitigation, and if they can condemn it, then you can find them in court.
That's the better route. That for us, it's a better route.
That's why we just have the right to your way, and not turn it down, you're not saying your way is, not a good way to you. It's not a good way to you, but I'll let this lose. And we have no recourse whatsoever.
Who's not in favor of flood mitigation?
Exactly.
Yeah, I wasn't, now I know.
True.
I like your answer.
I think it's obvious.
I like,
No.
I'm good with that.
Say 99.8% of the people.
Right. We will never guarantee, right, we will never guarantee the money, anybody that's in cybersecurity, because Mother Nature causes risks and things happen. We can improve the situation, but we can't guarantee. And it appears that guarantees are being given that we do this and no houses in Longwood will flood ever again.
Man, that is not true. He said, quote unquote, that he can't guarantee that no houses in Longwood will flood. He said, but I can guarantee that it will be infinitely less severe.
I'm sorry, who's he?
Alan Black, I'm sorry.
So Billy, did he mention to you why we need to reduce our flood water levels by 9 feet? I mean, that seems like an awful big number.
Why we need to reduce it by 9 feet?
Yeah, most of the houses that flooded in our dwelling flooded with 3 inches of water. Sam, you got 3 inches, right? Christina, I think you got 3 answers too.
I don't know, I think that'd be, I'll be more than happy to set the Zoom, that's a question you can ask me. But I understand it as something, it is a level of pressing related.
When I talked to them, they said there was a moderately wide creek. Now we're talking about making the creek over 400 feet wide.
600 is what I've been told.
600. I mean, that's the Suez Canal. That's how wide the Suez Canal is.
I understand, I have an example before and after in Houston of 600 feet.
We don't need that. We don't need that. Let's protect our homes from flooding. We do not need that. None of these homes here need that to protect our homes from flooding.
I can't speak to that. They have a hydraulic model that says this is what they need to do. And they have TCEQ requirements and Corps of Engineer requirements. That is a question that really needs to be asked about a lot. I can't speak to that. I didn't come up to them and say, hey, take another 20 acres right in the dead center of my golf course.
Really, I want to tell you this. I really appreciate you having us at the football team. I don't envy you having to be up there in that spot.
I don't need to
Talking to us. Yeah. I really think our discussion needs to be with flood control district and not Trump. If I were in your position at Trump, I'd be doing the same thing. I'd be looking at the best interest of Trump. And we're looking at the best interest of our homes and the neighborhood. And so I know I've been vocal. I want to apologize, but my wife's not here to calm me down. So it's not between, I don't think, me and Trump. In fact, I don't know that Trump has a whole lot to do with what's going on right now. I think the issue is between us and flood control, and we need to have another meeting like this, or a Zoom meeting, as you put it, and we can work on setting that up with flood control. Maybe you can make utility boards in place, but you know, it's nothing personal, it's just emotional.
I think our big concern is that as soon as the board is in place, we should put pressure on them to get this amendment changed as soon as possible. That's our concern. It's not going to be the 9, 10 days, or 3, 4 month, 5 month, 6 month waiting period. It's going to happen so quite as fast as it's going to be done.
I don't have to run off the bat because flood control, if they have 2 choices that, or 3. We can amend it and move forward. We can not amend it and they condemn it. And they can pack up and take their money and go somewhere else. Those are the 3 choices.
How are you on choice number 3?
How what?
How are you on choice number 3? If they say they're going to pack it and go someplace else, and you're going to keep on giving us the $27 for it?
We'll have to make a business decision. We haven't come to that yet. I still believe it. And I'm going to tell you, and you can ask flood control. I don't know if they have minutes of our meetings. We've had 9 million. That I've told them the same thing all 3 times. I've never deviated. I've told them the same 3 things every time. I've never deviated. I want to protect the community, I want to protect my business, and I'm going to support the greater floodplain protection. I've said it every meeting I've ever been in, I'll say it to you tonight. And I still mean that. I do not want to do something to the golf course that's detrimental to the community. In total, I realize that y'all are directly affected and y'all, it's a unique circumstance. And I said that I hope we can find a way to do something. I really and truly do. But I wouldn't do something to the detriment of the community. And I am trying to protect my business. I have continued to invest in this while it's been getting killed. And Houston needs a floodplain, and they got $2.5 billion to do it. And I think that this property, this plan, according to flood control, is critical to the frontier program.
American Flood Control District said that they need 30+ billion to keep the threats. opinion is, and even the county commissioner, they comment, he is not going to do anything else as far as a bond or anything else, just funds. For that $2.5 billion and funded to use. I think we're just looking at pushing this whole thing down the road, Cypress Creek is continued flood. This is going to back up all the way up to where the flood.
I can't speak to that.
I think if your county flood control district wants to do something in this community, go upstream to Springcypress and Tilby and take over there. Correct me, Clark.
They spoke, they spoke to that, Alan spoke to that in his last presentation. He said, the larger tracts of land upstream are mostly in conservation easements that they can't touch. And again, I'm paraphrasing what Alan said. I would truly recommend that y'all listen to the first bit that Alan spoke, and I will try to coordinate a Zoom call.
They can take us here involved. They can establish an incident.
One comment. We have 3 tenants board members. Make sure you. That's gonna be critical.
I have a question, Billy. If this is gonna take 5 to 10 years, why are we being forced to have a vote on these in the next 4 or 5 years?
It takes, again, from the day that they take over the property, Alan, he contradicted himself. I will say this from the first presentation and the second presentation. One of them says 5 years, and the last one said 1 to 2 years of engineering, 1 to 2 years of construction. So if we wait 3 or 4 years, or we wait any time, then it starts at the end, whatever that is, that 4 or 5 years. They are trying to define projects, and reading between the lines, it's been said, but they haven't just outright said it. They want to get a grant for this project, a federal grant.
To do what?
To fund it.
Fund it. You have to have billions with it.
I can't speak to that. That is stuff that I have heard. They haven't just said, hey, look, we're going to get a grant. That is stuff that I have heard. And I'll tell you how I heard it. At one point in 2018, we were in the budget. 2019, we were not in the budget. When I asked the question, what happened? I have a copy of the entire program from 2018. And it disappeared, just went away. Scared me. And I asked them, and they said, you can't have something in your budget if you're applying for a grant. That was their answer. So I am inferring that that is what they're doing. They have not ever just said it.
Flood district has stated, it's on the website, that we're going to have everything to leverage additional money. That might be.
And again, I'm not trying, and I hope I haven't misquoted or misrepresented. I've tried to be real careful about what I've said about flood control tonight, because they are the experts. They're the ones that have done the studies. They're the ones that are providing information. And I think the best course of you having information is to be set up a direct conduit, a direct call with flood control so you can ask these questions directly.
Has flood control told you that if they don't get a decision from us within the next month, they're gonna walk?
No. They told me that I had 3 months, and then they would have to take action. I asked, what is action? That means you're walking away, and they said, we will have to take action. Quote unquote. Read into it what you want.
How far back is that?
It was actually in December, and I said, so we have 3 months, and they said, if you're making progress, we'll keep going. They deem what we're doing right now, I talked over an hour yesterday, they deem what we're doing right now is making progress. As long as we're moving forward, or having constructive, not saying agreeable conversation, but constructive conversation. I think that they will use that as progress.
Now, you did, we'll work backwards.
So, I'm sorry, I know that most of your questions are related to what's gonna happen to your home value, or what flood control gonna do, why do they have to do it, why can't they do something else? I can't answer. But I will give you a commitment that I will set it up for you to get those questions answered.
We need to have ourselves.
Go ahead. All right, I'll back out.
So this whole thing goes through,
Sorry.
$37
You take your mask down and ask the same question, I'll answer.
So, this whole thing goes through, can we $37
If we went to semi-private, full membership in the amenities here at the club, that we have already started modeling this, a special discount for Longwood.
Hey,
I don't, you know, I know that was a semi-joke, but I'm very serious about that. I want to do something to support the community. I have told the board, and I was more than happy to give them the name of the presidents of the other HOAs and clubs that we have been asking them to call them. But see, if we were to call them one thing, we have a problem with it. We have. Not one thing. Y'all can check it, you can do it yourself. Call the HOA at Woodland, call the HOA at Double Creek Country Club. We have wonderful relations, and we want to have a wonderful relationship with this HOA. We want to work together for the best interest of all parties involved.
It just doesn't seem like it should be a decision to do this, but it is.
It's not a resident vote. By your own lawyer, the residents, and this isn't something they vote on, it's outside of the charter. This is a vote on by the board members.
That's what he's saying. For 10,000, 3 people making a decision for 10,000. That's not right to you, Billy?
And so,
I don't think you can answer that question.
The two businesses are right to do.
Well, really, one of the things, you know, currently, the area size of the current bus, and they do get that. In order, well, we're not gonna add a deed restriction, they're gonna still have a deed restriction.
yeah, it's an eminent domain watch up the restriction. And you can check this
So
out.
on, just on those, they,
Hey, what?
these restrictions should be off to definitional things, these restrictions should go on, only neighborhoods.
I'm not sure, I'm not trying to be evasive, I'm not sure.
That's right. Well, here's the question. You know what I would like to see is, you talk about boundaries, to be negotiable. I would like to see a couple hundred feet behind these properties, maybe even the whole golf, you know, they be retained on that course, so that we don't walk out our doors, stare down into a retention pond.
I don't have a problem with that. What I'm with y'all, with the representative from the previous board, I wanted to negotiate those things. I wanted to negotiate the cutting the trees. I wanted to negotiate easement, abutting the houses. I don't want. And others have no reason to believe this at all, and so I don't expect you to believe it. I don't want to do harm to this neighborhood. It's one of my priorities, protect the neighborhood, protect the business. And if it comes down to it, someone sent a question, would I be willing to have someone as a 37 on the committee, that helped with the planning and, everything for the detention pond. I would welcome it in a heartbeat. It's not my decision. It's the board's decision. I want the best that it can possibly be. I'm losing a third of my business. Yeah, am I getting 18 homes back? Yes, I am. And I understand it. Longwood is getting protected against flooding. You are definitely have a position, and I will not even pretend that I don't think that you do. But it is something that, opinion, so this is my opinion, I'll tell you when it's fact, I'll tell you when it's opinion. My opinion is this deal's gonna go through. And so I truly, truly think that we are stronger forcing issues together than we are forcing issues apart. You're welcome to talk to flood control. But if flood control comes out and says, we're gonna take this 82 acres, we're gonna give you $900,000 for it, I'm gonna tell them no, they're gonna condemn it, I'm gonna spend 5 years in court with them. And I guess if y'all are gonna do the same thing, spend 5 years in court with them trying to get the lost value on your house. That's what's gonna happen. And if they do it for 900,000, just simple math, that means the rest of my golf course is worth $2 million. And that means that is the maximum amount of money I can use to restore it. And I'm just telling you, it's not a drop in the bucket, but 18 goes back. So essentially, I'm out of business, so my losses just went up. Maybe in 5 years, I'll get some money.
That's a question. Okay, so you're saying though, what we could do is lift the deed restriction, but have it, you said you're willing to have it so that if some reason this deal doesn't go through, we get the deed restriction back.
Amend the deed restriction,
Well,
and as long as it is legal,
as long as it's legal.
I will be happy to do it. If we can figure out a mechanism that is legal and not fraudulent in any shape, form, or fashion, I'll give you my commitment to the movement.
Also, you said to have green space behind the houses. So it's not just a detention pond, okay?
Yes, sir.
And you want to save the trees and all of that.
I want someone from, I want someone to be on the committee with us to help shape it. I don't want to be responsible with street behind your house, I say, you don't say.
I'm just
I want one of
clarifying.
y'all to think it was.
I'm just clarifying. Okay, so my next question is to Dan. Okay, so then home value. You're not on a golf course, but you're on a green space. So that's still then we make our homes marketable, correct?
But you probably don't have green space, but you don't want a green space.
But you have the ability to help shape that. This much energy and effort
He's
applied
got
to that and shape it.
And then you kind of have to monitor that space, and some of them becomes, luxury style homes or any kind of home, then it goes down more. So, I worry, when you compare the golf course home selling along with, if it's comparable size and amenities that are not golf course, it comes out to almost average from January 2001 to now, the ones that, this is like $95,000 profit. That's what they're doing.
But if it's green space,
Well, green space,
would that bring that back up?
still, they won't.
Considerable, but not, it's not gonna be golf course, it's gonna be a green space, so
I mean, just.
without having homes behind it.
And your comps are in Longwood.
And all.
In Longwood.
And so,
What was the figure? Is it the end? What was the figure he said?
$95,000 a house.
If that's all.
I would suggest that if you're going to make a pitch to flood control for compensation, that, no disrespect, that y'all hire a professional third-party person to do your evaluations. Because I have had Alamo Kyle do it on y'all street, and the numbers are completely different. Be happy to share with you.
What year is the?
Last year, 2020.
How many years
I'm not saying that you're wrong, I'm just saying that I would have some information, because I don't know if that is, the number that they're gonna agree to.
No, what I was saying is, if it's green space, it's not homes right behind this. So at least it's on the market.
Here's the thing about it.
But, because he was saying it wasn't much at all.
Oh, your construction.
Yeah. What three?
I appreciate everybody coming, and I'm sorry that I couldn't be more informative on the issues that, are really troubling you. And I welcome you to reach out to flood control and try to set something up with the group. And if you have any more questions or anything that try to answer, don't hesitate to ask.
Thank you.